Okay, guys, Santa opened up his bag and gave us the biggest gift we could have asked this year, and that is O3. Undoubtedly, the absolute state of the art and the closest definition to artificial general intelligence. So, you might have seen the event. I'm not going to repeat everything here, so don't worry, but I'll be addressing questions that you might have after you have watched this event. Questions like, why didn't they name it O2? Is this actually AGI? And I'll be also explaining you how live on camera they built an AI agent right in front of us and executed it. So we'll be covering all of that, all of those questions. So let's get started. The first question that may come to your mind is, why didn't they call it O2? The reason being, have a look at this company, Telefonica. So it actually has the rights of the O2 name. So they are using O2 for some of their products or something. So actually OpenAI can't name O2. So that's the reason we have got O3. Now moving on to the benchmarks. Guys, so starting off with the benchmarks, you can see that O1 scores 1891 and O3 absolutely obliterates this model and scores 2727. But let me actually show you something else. So if I go to the O1 system card, right here you can see when they released O1 preview, these were the results. O1 had a score of 1673 and a specifically trained model just for this test scored 1807. This means that gradually they improve the performance of this model and it can actually score even higher. So you see the score of 2727, it can go even higher and eventually it can reach to the score of Mark Kane, OpenAI researcher who supposedly has a score somewhere around 3000. So clearly there are absolute experts who are better than these top reasoning models, but I bet you it is almost better than 90% or even 99% of the coders. Moving on to SWE bench verified. See, this is a bench which was released by OpenAI, which actually, looks at the GitHub issues which the model can resolve. So at this test, you can see O3 scores 71.7% compared to 48.9% from O1. Absolute beast of a model. Moving on, if you have a look at the math benchmark, you can see that O3 actually scores a 96.7%, very close to completely acing the benchmark. As we talked about, Mark Lane actually he has got a 100% accuracy in the AIME math benchmark. And the reason O3 couldn't do it is there was just one question that O3 couldn't do, and that's the reason its percentage fell to 96.7%. But still, even in that case, O3 is better than the competition. But actually, this benchmark is not a right way to actually appreciate the absolute power that O3 has. We will be looking at Frontier benchmark, what they have been saying about AGI and everything, how their benchmark was absolutely annihilated. Before that, let's actually look at latency. Here you can see it is mentioned time to first token. So, the first word or token that comes out from the model. So, how much time does it take for that to happen? Here you can see GPT-4o has a very less latency of just 0.5 seconds, and as we move on to higher and higher models, you can see the time increases. So if you talk about O3 mini, you can see the high version of O3 mini has a latency of 23.33 seconds. So just for the first token to arrive, it actually takes 23.33 seconds. So O3 is gonna take way longer. So this model is gonna be very very slow, at least for the current hardware that we have, but the responses will be worth the wait. So moving on, you can see this is the president of ArcAGI Foundation. So if you don't know about ArcAGI, you can see the website is actually ArcAGI price. You have to beat the Arc benchmark and open source it, and then you will actually earn $1 million. So up until this point, before O3 was released, this was the guy. Have a look at him. He's Jeremy, and he's the one who actually held the record of the highest score on ArcAGI benchmark. He scored record of 53.6%, and he used 3.5 sonnet. So he directly didn't do the test. He actually used evolutionary test time compute, and if you read the whole information, it says that he used some kind of functions and everything to get to this point. But if we just talk about raw performance of the models, in that case, OpenAI O1 had 18%, but now you can see O3 got 75.7% in state of the art scores. But actually, if you go to the homepage, right, they have actually explained a bit about this. And if you go on to this section, OpenAI O3 ArcAGI results, here you can see that what are the scores that O3 was able to get at different efficiency levels and for different set. Here you can see there are two sets, semi-private eval and public eval. So semi-private eval is 100 private tasks used to check for overfitting. So the model is public eval is 400 public tasks. Here you can see there is efficiency. High efficiency means the model has to score high, but it has to also be efficient under certain constraints. Here you can see under that constraints, O3 model was able to score 75.7%. Total cost came to $2,000 and 33 million tokens were used, and for per task approximately $20 were used. So you see these are constraints within which the O3 model had to perform. But as you can see, as we decrease the efficiency, the score of this model goes on increasing. In semi-private low efficiency, you can see it scores 87.5%, and you don't see any kind of retail cost or cost per task and everything, because you're pushing this model to its limits, and OpenAI hasn't decided any pricing model for it. But have a look at this. For the public benchmark, for the here you see 400 public tasks. Here you can see the efficiency is low, so they are not taking into consideration the what is the total compute cost or anything like that. And with that, this model was able to score 91.5%. 1024 samples were taken instead of the 6 samples in the high efficiency mode, and 9.5 billion tokens were used, and you can see the model scored 91.5%. And why is this actually substantial? Let me actually show you the technical report, and here you can see the benchmark score is 85%. So according to them, a human could score up to 85%, but this model without any kind of constraints or restrictions could score 91.5%. You can see in their article they have mentioned this is not an incremental improvement but a genuine breakthrough. So he answers the question, so is this AGI? He says that he doesn't think that this is AGI yet, and O3 still fails in some very basic tasks, showing that how it is different from fundamental intelligence. And he is claiming that ARC-AGI 2 benchmark, which he has to release because this model has absolutely demolished this benchmark. He says that this new ARC-AGI 2 benchmark will be designed such that the O3 score, the score of 91.5% will go to a score under 30%, and even at high compute. But he says that still a smart human will be able to score over 95% without any training. So this has to be seen if his claims hold up or not. Moving on to Epoch AI's frontier benchmark. So I think this was the benchmark that I was most concerned of instead of ArcAGI. The reason being, if you look at the previous scores, just have a look at this. No model is able to even score above 2% of the problems. The highest was Gemini 1.5 Pro. Ironically, I don't know how, but that is what it is. The maximum was 2%, guys. And I'll show you some of the claims that many have actually said. Yeah, if you go onto the main page, here you can see Terence Tao. He's a field medalist and he says that these are extremely challenging. I think they will resist AI for several years at least. How wrong they were. Just have a look at these guys. Gemini 1.5 Pro, the previous state of the art, scored 2%, and O3 scored a whopping 25.2%. And even if you ignore this gray one, right, which might have some kind of a condition, maybe it is the high compute condition, even then the low compute or maybe this lower percentage, under all constraints, even that is way higher than this. And let me tell you, these are not the daily questions that we use. These are actually research based questions, and it actually took them a lot of time to come up with this benchmark. And many have claimed that they couldn't solve it completely, but O3 was able to score 25.2%. So after all of this, they actually demoed O3 mini right in front of us, and they built an agent right in front of us. So why I'm telling like that? Just have a look at this prompt. Here you can see the prompt: write me a Python script which launches a server locally for an HTML file which has a big text box and everything, all of it is written. So what they have told over here is write a code such that when I send a prompt to that code, then that prompt is captured and sent OpenAI O3 Mini, and the response from O3 Mini is again captured, and actually the code is ran on the Mac laptop using terminal, and the output is shown. So it is literally an agent. You give it an instruction, it will send this to a model will give you code, and it will also execute the code for you. You have to do nothing, just prompting, and all of this has to be done through one code. So let's have a look at this. Yeah, so here you can see this is the interface. So here you can see the prompt is print OpenAI and a random number. So when you submit, right, this prompt is actually sent to the O3 mini model, and it is asked to give us a code that is able to do this. Write OpenAI and against that a random number. So it will give the code. Then this code that was generated, right, it will capture that code, it will run it and show you the output. So here you can see it captured the code, ran it, and it gave the answer OpenAI 41. And this is in its purest definition an agent. but there's actually more. So here in this prompt here, you can see it has to write a code which actually downloads this O3 mini low model through this link. The link is given. Then it also takes in the GPQA benchmark. It shuffles the options and tests this model on this benchmark, and what you get at the end is just the result. You have to do nothing else, just this prompt. Everything else has to be done by the code. And now you see the whole test was done, and what you see is just the result. And all of this they were able to do using just one prompt. And I think this is a very good teaser and a warning to all other AI labs. So this is what we got today. OpenAI just gave us a demo of the O3 model and blew our minds. So O3 mini will be coming by the end of January 2025, and they haven't mentioned a date for O3, but it may come a few months later. And this was it, guys. OpenAI just in one video absolutely annihilated the competition and all the benchmarks that we have been waiting, and we have been boasting that AI will not be able to do this, do that, and whatnot. And 2025 hasn't even started, guys. I'm very excited for the coming future and the coming year as well. Please share your reactions of the release, what you think about it, and let's actually have a discussion. And I'll see you guys in the next one.